Now, in 1989, you did your first Molokai. This is known worldwide as one of the most revered ocean races. And Dean Summers, who I had on the podcast last week, he actually swam the Molokai. But you're in a surf ski. You paddle it almost every year, or you attend the event every year. What is it that's such a big draw to the event for you?
Well, the event's special in that it's a crossing type event, and they're the really, really cool ones, where you go from one landmass to another. And Molokai just happens to lie upwind of Oahu, and which makes that channel, the Kaiwi Channel, a really, really fantastic body of water to paddle in. So, you get the downwind stuff and the big ocean swell that rolls through that channel, and it's a reasonable distance. It's 52K, so it's not extraordinarily long unless you're swimming it, of course, like that other fella. But for paddling, you can bowl it over in just over 3 hours, and it's an exceptionally, when it's on, it's an exceptionally fantastic event to do.
Yeah. And so that when you say bowl it over in over 3 hours, I think that was the record you set, around 3.5 hours. So it's not everyone that can bowl it over in that amount of time. My dad, Matthew, who now living with dementia, but he went over there with Wayne Dunbar, and they, I think, tag teamed it, but took them well over, I imagine, 5 hours or so. So it's a big journey for the average paddler.
Well, that's because your dad had a weak link in Wayne, so
he's probably listening. He'll have a laugh. Yeah. And so you set the record in 1994, and you improved upon that 4 years later in 1998, and that record held strong for around, or just over 2 decades, so 24 years. Incredible achievement, and a testament to what we're going to talk about today, which is, your upbringing and getting into the sport of ocean paddling to become a 9-time world champion in the Molokai race. But I understand you grew up in Perth in the early days, and you started paddling as early as 13 years old. So take us back to that point in time in your life.
Yeah, so I grew up in Perth, and Perth in summer is it's a funny place. It has strong offshore winds in the morning and howling onshore winds in the afternoon, and that's pretty well nearly every day. So it's kind of 2 days in one, where you have this beautiful blue ocean with nice offshore winds blowing, and for a surfer, they're the ideal conditions. But summer in Perth doesn't really offer much surf, so you sort of look for alternatives. And for me, I stumbled across paddling at Floreat Surf Club, and I would go down there in the morning and sort of paddle along the coast, and then in the afternoon I would paddle upwind and then do a run downwind. And occasionally I'd jump on with the surf boat crew, who would drive down the coast towards Fremantle and jump in, and they'd put my ski on the boat and take me down with them, and I'd paddle back in the really big southwest winds that were blowing there. So it made it pretty easy to take on another sort of ocean sport rather than just surfing and the fishing stuff that I was doing. And downwind paddling in Perth is, there's no better place on earth than WA for that sort of thing. So it worked out that I just got better and better at that, and I really enjoyed doing that, and found that I felt most comfortable when I was sitting on a ski in the middle of the ocean catching chop. Some people feel most comfortable sitting in an office looking at numbers. Some people feel comfortable, running through a forest. I feel comfortable out in the middle of the ocean catching ocean chop, and I sort of just love doing that, and just turned it into a sport, I guess, and got good at it.
Yeah, and it wasn't until those later teenage years that you got into more ocean paddling. So I guess early on in the days, as you said there, you weren't doing too much of that. You're doing a lot of swimming and surf life saving. What was the draw towards paddling over surf lifesaving? I mean, there was so many events at the time running around across Australia.
Well, for me, it took you to locations that were a little bit adventurous, going over to Molokai and going to Tahiti and South Africa and those sorts of places. And in the early days, there wasn't many ocean races going on around the world, and Molokai was the big one. And I don't know, I just found that, like, I did pretty well at the surf club stuff, but I just found that there was a lot of baggage around surf lifesaving events for me. I like the fact that I could roll up and do an ocean race and you're kind of done with it. Whereas the surf club stuff, if you went to the nationals, it was a 5-day thing, and it chewed up a lot of time, and you only got to race it, a few times each day. And I kind of liked the fact that I could spend 2 or 3 hours on the ocean and get a full day's racing in, and rather than sit on a beach and do a couple of events here and there. And but don't get me wrong, I loved doing the life-saving events, and I loved any sort of events in the water. But for me, the ocean paddling was more the preference.
You said there that you enjoyed the choppiness of the ocean, and you do it as Chop, but I understand your nickname on Instagram is Chops Gardiner. So is this something you thrived on and you found was one of your, leg ups in those long ocean races? Maybe one of the reasons why you didn't go with, say, flat water racing on a K1, for instance?
Yeah, well, I'm actually named Chops because I was a fat kid, so that's how I got that nickname. But it kind of, a lot of people associate it with the downwind paddling, which is kind of cool too. So I'll take either one. I was happy being a fat kid, and I'm happy that I can ride ocean chops. So either way, it doesn't really matter too much. I've forgotten the rest of your question there.
Was it one of those things that became a strength for you? You say you love going out in the choppy waters, and growing up in Perth, where you would get a lot of that chop from the wind and the conditions there. Did you feel like that gave you a bit of a leg up when it came to?
Yeah, and I've always been someone that likes the unknown, and for me, some of the sports, the paddle sports that I've done in the past, there's too much that you know already. The beauty of ocean paddling is you don't know what your next stroke's going to put you into. You don't know what the next chop's going to do. Every single 5-second period of ocean paddling is completely different to the previous 5-second period.